Hey guys, it's Chelsa Messinger with SportsbookReview.com, and it is a great day to break down some NBA. We've got Kyle Purviance and Junior Browne here to discuss all of today's slate. And first of all, you need to go ahead and smash that like button because we're out here working hard, hopefully giving you some winners and some good information to base your bets on. And we would love to see some encouragement. As you guys know, I am guest hosting. I am not the normal host, but hopefully I can fill in at point guard and not dribble the ball off my foot or, pull a Udonis Haslem and get ejected in the first 2 minutes of the game. Kyle, how's your week going? How's your day going? How have your bets been going in the NBA?
Bets have been good. I was on Miami last night, so I was thankful for that. We know Joel Embiid's been battling a little bit of an illness, so that seemed like a good spot. And baseball went good yesterday. I've been a little under the weather, but I'm feeling better today. And anytime I get to work with my boy Junior, I love that. And of course, Chelsa and I on the baseball show weekly. So I'm happy to be here. I appreciate all you guys welcoming us in, and I'm looking forward to NBA action today. It's a tough card, no doubt about it. Tough card last 2 days of the season. But we're going to have a lot of fun, and we got some picks for today.
Right. That's why you guys are the experts, because the NBA this time of year is not the easiest to handicap, especially when we don't know who's playing for half of these games. But let's go in, with a mindset and hopefully give you guys some information going in, and then you can double check those lineups heading into the games. Junior, how are we doing over there?
Not too bad, not too bad. My night last night was okay. Could have been better. The Pacers, I had them +8. They lost by 9, so that's a bit annoying. The Miami Heat was my big bet of the day, so I'm happy with that because they've been extremely inconsistent. But listen, I'd like to welcome you guys to the show. Chelsea, I've been a fan of your work for a while, especially when I need advice in baseball. I steadily get my ass kicked in that sport, so you're definitely one of the voices that I've turned to in the past for that. So it's a pleasure to be working with you. Kyle, we've worked together on the NFL show quite a few times. So welcome to the NBA show. Glad to have you here. And let's get to it whenever you guys are ready.
Yeah, let's break down this card, starting with the Cavs and the Wizards. The Wizards -8 here. Total is 228.5. The Cavs have been eliminated. Of course, Wizards still alive for that play-in spot. Kyle, we'll start with you. What's your take on this one?
Well, when I look, it's late in the year, right? So we got 2 games left. And so these games can be a little bit weird. Obviously, Cleveland has nothing to play for. Darius Garland, game time decision. But Washington needs that one more win to ensure they get into that play-in spot. We know they won't have Bradley Beal tonight. But I like to look for teams in this situations that have something to play for. Now, we're not getting the greatest number. We're getting 8. And I do slightly lean 8 full game. But for me, the best way to approach this, I know I'm going to get real basketball in that first half. I'm getting -4.5 at -110 for Washington in the first half. That would be the way I would lean. We know Russell Westbrook is an absolute monster. You're not going to get these juiciest numbers on his props, but I would take a little look at a Colin Sexton prop. We know Washington plays a very fast-paced game. They're the fastest-paced team in the NBA. Cleveland, one of the slower teams. So I think I saw 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists earlier for Colin Sexton. I think that makes a lot of sense. He's been on an absolute tear, and he is going to have the ball in his hands. We're probably going to see a usage rate in the high 30s, low 40s tonight for Colin Sexton. I would look at a prop there, but the one I really like is Wizards -4.5 in the first half at -110.
Yeah, I think first half plays are definitely a good thing to look at when you're talking about teams that are probably trying to rest people if it's a blowout,
Exactly.
Junior, what's your take on this one?
So, first of all, I love Kyle's breakdown. On this show, we do a lot of, obviously, spreads. Jordan usually handles totals. Nobody on the show really gives up prop picks. We don't even literally cover props. We kind of try to stay in our lane, so I'm definitely happy to see Kyle come through with a different angle. My play is very similar to his, so I'm glad to see his thinking. I got Wizards first quarter -2.5 for a few different reasons. The Wizards are obviously on a mission. Not only are they trying to secure their current position, they can actually move up to 8th. And there's a huge difference between finishing 8th or 9th and 10th. If you finish 7 or 8, you only have to win one game to get into the playoffs. If you finish 9 or 10, you have to win twice. So that alone is motivation for them to move up. Now, it's going to be a bit tough because they're going to need help. They've lost twice to the Hornets, so the Hornets would own the tiebreaker there. But the Hornets have a much tougher schedule because the Wizards and the Hornets actually play head-to-head. and the Hornets play the Knicks first. So the Hornets could conceivably lose both games, or at least lose that game to the Knicks, and then it would literally come down to a virtual playoff game where the Wizards could overtake the Hornets for 8th place. I know I'm kind of putting a lot into the pot here, but what I'm really trying to say is the Wizards have all of the motivation in the world. This Cavaliers season has been done for quite some time. And if you look in the first quarter, the Wizards have not scored under 30 points in like 6 straight first quarters, 8 of their last 10. They're really playing well to open these games. The Cavaliers don't play well really at any point, but especially not in the first quarter, where their net rating is, I think, 28th in the league. So everything points to that early smackdown, as we like to say on this show, by the Wizards. Hopefully, Kyle can cash his first half, too, because I'm pretty sure I might get on that as well.
Yeah, I think mentioning those playoff scenarios is really important because more than any other sport, motivation is a big factor in the NBA, as we've seen, the entire season. So that's why we're delving into some of these playoff scenarios because they do matter, especially when you're betting on these games. Moving on to the next one on the card, we've got the Nuggets and the Pistons. Nuggets road favorites here, -8.5. I have it. Total of 216. Nuggets, of course, very alive. Right now sitting in that 4th spot in the West. Pistons, very much out of it. Kyle, who do you like here? What's the play?
Well, again, this is a tough one. So who is going to be playing tonight for Denver? Will Jokic play? Will Michael Porter Jr. be playing? That's the real question here. And listen, I tell this to everyone betting the NBA, playing NBA DFS. You are doing yourself a disservice if you don't have your head on a swivel all day long, seeing who's in and who's out, especially in the last 2 games of the year. And then you pile in all the COVID stuff and everything else happening with the NBA. So there's kind of a lot to look at here. Denver is on a back-to-back. You're starting to see some line movement towards Detroit a little bit. I believe this opened at 9.5, and now it's at 8.5. This is another case where before I even think about betting this game, and look, make no mistake about it, even probably if Jokic and Porter are both out, Denver still has a better roster than what Detroit's going to be shoveling out there tonight. I mean, Detroit is absolutely terrible. The Sadiq Beys and the Sekou Doumbayas and whoever the hell else they're going to throw out there. It's not pretty. But I don't feel good laying 8.5 points if I know they're not going to have Jokic and Porter. So this is another case where I'm waiting for news. If Jokic and or Porter are going to play, then this is going to be another one where the blowout potential's there. Denver's getting ready for the playoffs. They already have some PTSD from losing Jamal Murray. So this is another one where you take that first quarter, first half play. You're getting Denver -4.5 in the first half. That would be the way I would look at it. But I would want to make sure first that they're going to at least have one of their stars playing.
Right. And if you do play props, that's obviously really important to look at because if you do have those big stars out, you can look at some of these points props for some of the role players, and sometimes it's good play. Junior, who do you like in this one?
Don't like anybody in this one for the very simple fact that Michael Porter Jr. is not playing. So when they lost Jamal Murray, well, at least, Kyle, that's what I've heard. We know that these things can change from hour to hour, but as soon as Jamal Murray went down on this show, the first thing I said was, I don't think, not to say that he's replaceable because he's clearly not, but it's going to be a blessing in disguise because it's going to basically accelerate the growth of Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr., even though he was like a 9th or 10th or 11th pick, he was the number 1 player in his draft class who happened to hurt his back. Obviously, back injuries in any sport are one of those things that could be career ending. So teams didn't really want to take a chance on him. So the Nuggets got a basically number 1 pick who, I'm one of those guys that I follow these guys from the time they're freshmen in high school. Michael Porter Jr. was giving buckets to NBA players in these workouts when he was still literally a high school kid. So he's a legit scorer who, since Jamal Murray has gone down, is scoring like 25 a game on 50% shooting and like 40 from the field. Now you're taking him out of the lineup as well. The Denver Nuggets lineup is solid because it's deep, but it's not like top heavy like some of the other teams where it's like loaded with superstars. They got one superstar in Jokic who's probably going to win MVP. And then they got Jamal Murray, who's pretty inconsistent but can play like a superstar. And now young Porter to join that fray. You've taken 2 or 3 of those guys out of the equation, and you're asking me to lay basically almost double digits, right? Because you need them to win by double digits to cover the spread. You're not assuming they're going to win by 9. I'm not taking this team by margin. I don't care who's playing for Detroit. Also, you guys haven't heard my reverse tanking theory, so I'll just spit it out for you guys real quick.
Love it.
Nobody wants the Lakers. I know some people in the chat are going to start their nonsense about people aren't afraid of the Lakers. Someone actually DM'd me from the chat yesterday saying, oh, the Clippers aren't scared of the Lakers. I'm not going to call you out by name like I usually do on this show because you guys are used to how I am on this show, but I will say this. If you think that the Clippers, who lost in the first round last year, aren't scared of the defending champions, stop smoking so much is what I'll tell you.
Seriously.
In terms of this specific spot, Denver has no reason to get out of fourth and go into third spot because if they then advance in the second round, they would play the winner of the 2-7, which could conceivably be the Lakers. I feel the same way about the Clippers. They have no interest in going up from 3 to 2 because, again, they would then play possibly the Lakers in the first round. Not saying the Lakers are going to beat the Suns or the Jazz in the first round, but would that be shocking to somebody? So I think the reverse tanking to avoid the Lakers is a real thing. I don't think Denver, if they win this game, it's just going to be because Detroit is so much worse than them that they back into a win, not that they're going to cover an 8.5-point spread. So I say all of that because I probably overtalked a little bit to say I want absolutely no parts of this game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's a hot take at all. Everybody, I think is kind of sleeping on the Lakers just because LeBron and AD have been not together, most of the season. And you could almost say it's a good thing, kind of like you said for the other teams, how their role players have to step up and really expand and grow and be better heading into the playoffs because they will need those role players coming into the postseason. And moving on to the Magic and the Sixers. Sixers minus 13.5. Total is 214. Sixers best record in the East. Of course, they've clinched the playoff spot. Magic have been eliminated. Sixers coming off a game where I know Joel Embiid a little bit sick or down, but definitely not much of a factor in last night's game. So this is a big point spread here. Kyle, who do you like?
Well, this is another magic number game, right? The Sixers need to win one more game to clinch the top spot. And who do they get? It's the worst tanking effort I've ever seen. Orlando, if you were a player who scored 4 points a game, you were too good to be on their roster. I say get rid of the Orlando Magic, bring back the Seattle Supersonics right now. It's absolutely pathetic. And I think the Sixers come out tonight and beat the brakes off of Orlando. I think they lock up this number one spot now, get some rest in that second game, where they're going to be playing Orlando as well. They've only got to win one of these two games. Orlando's an absolute can. I know Joel Embiid's been a little bit under the weather, and I'm normally not one of these guys that takes teams by double digits. It's not one of my favorite things to do, but I actually do lean Philly tonight, minus 13.5. This has all the markings of a 120-98 absolute beatdown. I also like the Sixers minus 8 in the first half. I think they really, really jump out on Orlando tonight. We're talking about an Orlando team who right now, outside of Terrence Ross, they don't have an NBA. I mean, Cole Anthony's been okay, I guess, as a young rookie. I know some people like him. That's just not an NBA roster, and we have several of those teams here. I think Philly locks us up tonight. I got a good feeling about the Sixers. I know it was a hard game last night. They are on a back-to-back, but I think they get it done tonight, lock up that number one seed, so I'm going to lean the Sixers here. Minus 13.5, it's a big number. But you can't bet Orlando in any way, shape, or form. When you see these double-digit underdogs, you got to try to talk yourself into the team covering. What can you talk yourself into on Orlando? Absolutely nothing. So I'm leaning the Sixers here. And this could be tonight might be one of those things where there's a lot of big favorites. Maybe it's a parlay night where you parlay some of these favorites, get yourself a better number, and just parlay the money line if you're uncomfortable with those double-digit spreads. But I like the Sixers tonight.
Yeah, the thing is, if you don't take double-digit spreads, I mean, half the card is double digits. So
exactly.
That's just, the state of the NBA right now. Junior, who do you like here? What's the play?
Oh, I'm going to expand on what you guys just said. This is a disease and infiltration. These are NCAA spreads that we're seeing. These are not NBA spreads. It actually really annoys me because I'm having to pass more often than not because I'm definitely not laying these many points. And realistically, these lines are sharp because you can't even take the points on the other side because, I mean, as bad as Kyle says Orlando's tanking, if Orlando's the worst tanking team you've ever seen, then you probably not watched Oklahoma City because
I was going to say the Thunder.
Well, they try. Well, when they have Lugens Dort in the lineup, they try and they can
but
cover
they don't
when
let
they have
him play.
Dort. Yeah, they just don't.
Like exactly. If you're good, Oklahoma City's like, you know what, just take a vacation.
You have a leg
go
injury.
somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
I need an APB on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Is he alive? Because
Bless his heart.
why is he not playing? Anyway, so in terms of this game, I hate these spreads, but I will say this. Again, the motivations for Philly to go out and smack Orlando up and comfortably secure that number 1 seed, give their guys some rest in the last game of the season. The play-in tournament gives everybody that's already qualified, at least the top 6 teams, a few extra days. This Philly team has shown me enough that even when Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid weren't playing for that little stretch after the All-Star break, they were still covering spreads. They were still
Tobias Harris.
Exactly. So I'm actually pretty confident in Philly, even though I don't love, laying this many points with an offense that struggles the way theirs tends to sometimes. I think that the spot is really here for them to come out, handle business, cruise to victory, and then just get ready for the playoffs. Because if anything, this team, the way that they're constructed, it's always been playoffs or bust anyway. They're just trying to get there healthy. They kind of seem like they're going to get that accomplished. So tonight's the night for them to take care of business.
Right, and speaking of terrible mismatches, we've got the Jazz and the Thunder squaring off. Jazz, the top record in the West, and then you've got the Thunder eliminated, and they're number 1 in my power rankings when it comes to tanking. They're 1-9 over their last 10. So the spread on this one, Jazz minus 14.5. Total is 221. Kyle, who do you like, or what's the play?
This is another tough one, right? And it's the very similar situation to what Philly has. It's actually the exact same situation because of Phoenix winning last night. They need to win one more game to secure that number 1 seed, and they get Oklahoma City, something like 2-25 straight up in their last 27 games. No, Lugens Dort won't be there, so there's no competitive defense at all whatsoever. Then you go to the other side. The Jazz have announced if Mike Conley plays, he'll be on a minutes limit, which generally means he's probably going to play, but he's not going to play that many minutes. Of course, we know they don't have Donovan Mitchell. So I can't back Utah at 14.5, even though Oklahoma City doesn't seem to be able to cover without Lou Dort in their lineup. What I kind of like in this game, and it's just a slight lean, that 220.5, 221, I'm going to lean the under there. I'm not sure Oklahoma City can put up enough points to really make this competitive. And then again, how explosive is Utah going to be with a limited Mike Conley and without Donovan Mitchell? So I'm going to lean the under on this game. Another ugly one. You can't back Oklahoma City in any way, shape, or form. Maybe it's a live betting spot. Maybe they have a good first quarter and you get a juicier number after the first quarter. That's something I love to do in the NBA, especially when good teams are big favorites. But for me, in this one, it's a slight lean to that under.
Right, especially when Rudy Gobert, as good as he is, he's not really a scoring big man per se. All right, Junior, who do you like? What's the play?
This game is a pass for me. Utah has no motivation to show up in this game. I mean, all they have to do is be alive to win this game, but the motivation is really not there. I kind of don't see an angle that I can exploit. So I'm not really looking at this game. I feel like I'd be forcing a play, if anything. So it's a pass for me. But I do have a heavy lean to the under. I do agree with Kyle's narrative. The only reason I haven't gone ahead and pulled the trigger is that no matter what, every single game you can count on Utah to put up 43s. If they even average, they're going to make like 15, 16 of them. So that type of deficit is not something that I think Oklahoma City can overcome, because getting to 100 points is a real problem for the Thunder. So I don't know. I want to take the under. I just feel like Utah can legitimately put up 125, 130 in this game.
Sure.
So it's more so that I'm afraid that they're just going to blow the doors off of these guys. Because, again, they're going to put up enough threes that regardless of who plays, if they're hot at all, they're going to put up a lot of points.
There's nothing worse, when you have an under and you see a team just absolutely drilling threes.
And Chelsea, not to interrupt you, just to give you an example, last game they shot 29% from three, but they shot 44 of them, right? So they still made 13 threes and scored 116 points. All they got to do is shoot 35, 40%, and your under is absolutely toast.
Right. Kind of like the Blazers. I feel like every time they're making 15 threes. Let's move on to the Kings and the Grizzlies. Grizzlies -6 here. Total is 226.5. Grizzlies still alive for a play-in spot. Kings are eliminated. Kyle, who do you like?
So this one's an interesting one, right? So, from the to the naked eye, it's like, hey, Memphis needs to win, secure the spot, blah blah blah. That's actually not the case. This game does not matter. The Sunday game against Golden State is everything for Memphis. We've got both these teams on a back-to-back. So it's a little bit ugly, right? So overall, this game is a pass for me. Look, Kings, bless their heart, they tried. They haven't made a playoff in 15 years. And trust me, I'm a Lakers guy. I'm a Lakers fan, but I used to love watching those Kings in the early 2000s with Weber and Bibby and Christie and Vlade and Peja Stojakovic. I used to love, love, love watching those teams. But this one's tough when they're both on a back-to-back. Neither team really has much to play for in this game. Like I said, the game Sunday is what Memphis has circled on their calendar. So it does make me a little bit nervous. I don't have an official play on this. If this is the only game you can watch, or you're a Memphis fan or a SAC fan and you're just eager to bet the game, Memphis -3 in the first half might be something I would take a sprinkle in here. They're certainly the better team. So a slight lean there to Memphis in the first half, but overall a stay-away game. Just two teams with absolutely nothing to play for.
Yeah, Junior, who do you like here?
I don't have a play in this game. I would actually favor Memphis. My lean is Memphis. It's just the thing with Memphis for me is that they're one of these teams that I call a by committee team. Yeah, John Morant has superstar potential, but he's still got some kinks to work on in his game. He will be a superstar eventually, but they're a by committee crew. You take out one important piece from that group, and then all of a sudden you're looking at a completely different team. Lesser talented guys have to get more minutes, et cetera, et cetera. Jaren Jackson Jr., since he's come back from injury, he seems to be on a minutes restriction. He's only playing like 20 minutes a game, and now you're in a back-to-back situation, so I'm going to just assume he's not playing. They're just a different team without him. Not only is he a stretch five who can play defense and grab rebounds, he's just an athletic big who could, he's a rim runner. So you take that out of their lineup now. I'm not really sure that I want to lay 6 points with them. I'd probably, be more comfortable with somewhere like 4.5. I just think it's too many points. I do think they win the game, though. I'm just not ready to lay this many points because as bad as the Kings are, and they're bad, they can score points when they're ready. Buddy Hield seems like he's intent on shooting as many threes as humanly possible every time he steps on the court. And every time it just seems like every time I fade Sacramento, Buddy Hield starts going bananas. Right. So I'm good with this game. I'm gonna lay off it. I don't see, like I said just before in the last game, I just do not see an angle that I can exploit. So it's a pass for me. I
want to jump in here real quick too, just in the chat, because a couple guys are saying Memphis needs to win to stay on top of Golden State. That is absolutely not true. It has no matter what happens tonight with Golden State and with Memphis, that game on Sunday will be for that seed because of the tiebreaker. So just to get that out there on the table, no false information in the chat. Make sure you know this game means absolutely nothing to either team.
Hey, Kyle got you boys on your P's and Q's. You guys better. I already warned you guys many times in the chat. Stop with this fake news. Leave that for Twitter. No fake news in this chat.
Exactly.
Well, we're here to set the record straight. All right, let's keep it moving. Next up, we've got the Raptors -13.5. Or excuse me, it's got to be the Mavericks -13.5, I would assume. Yeah. I think I wrote that down wrong. Raptors, Mavericks, total is 220. Kyle, who do you like, or what's the play?
So Dallas does have something to play for here, just a little bit. And I say that because if they lose their last two games and the Lakers win their last two games, Dallas could actually see themselves being a division winner, dropping all the way down into these play-in games. So Dallas does need to get a win here. Obviously, a very disappointing year for Toronto, and they're not going to be putting out the best product tonight, right? So I am leaning on Dallas. Again, I don't do these double-digit full game things unless I can find a way to take that underdog. It's still not the greatest number in the first half. We're talking -8.5 at -110. So it's a little steep. That's a little steep for me, just sort of looking at what Toronto is going to put out there today. I mean, are we going to see another 40 minutes out of Malachi Flynn? Is that what we're looking at? 27 minutes out of Jalen Harris? Freddie Gillespie? Are we getting 30 minutes out of him? DeAndre Bembry, Aaron Baines, Kim Birch? I mean, and let's not forget, Watanabe got hurt last night and had to be replaced in the second half. Stanley Johnson went absolutely bananas. I had him in a DFS lineup. He got me 66, which was absolutely phenomenal on DraftKings. It's hard to back Toronto with that roster, though. Dallas should get the job done here. The best way I would play this, if I'm making it a parlay piece, Dallas should pull it off. Of course, you're not going to bet the money line full game. It's minus 490. That's for the fish. But maybe minus 110, minus 8.5. I would lean in the first half or take the first quarter. Mostly a stay away game or a parlay piece for me for Dallas.
Right. Who's playing for Toronto? Because as I see here, it looks like all the people that you would probably hear of, Van Vliet, Siakam, Lowry, Anunoby, it just seems like no one's playing, or at least all of them are questionable for tonight. So definitely a tricky one to look at. Junior, who do you like here, or anything you're leaning?
I'm hoping to see tons of Malachi Flynn and especially Kem Birch. Actually, Kem Birch, I mentioned this on the show before, was a high school teammate of my nephew. So as much as I could see him on the court, I'd love to see that. But no disrespect to him, that means I'm probably going to win my first half bet. The more he plays, Dallas minus 8.5. For all the reasons Kyle said, they really need this win. And I mentioned a couple of days ago that Nick Nurse, Toronto's coach, really said something to me that made them an automatic fade team for the rest of the season. And he said, I'm going to be playing guys looking towards the future, looking to see if they can be a part of this team and part of a winning culture, not based on the scoreboard. And like I told Jay Money at the time, I almost fell out of my chair trying to make a bet against them because once the coach starts talking about the scoreboard does not concern him, it's the effort on the court that concerns him, I'm fading you until further notice. So Dallas minus 8.5. I think the number is ridiculous because as much as Dallas needs this game, consistency has not been part of their DNA since this entire season. But I just think the spot, the disparity in talent, the lack of motivation for Toronto, all of these things kind of spelled Dallas smack city in the first half. I hate laying this many points, but I'm making it official.
Right, and the Mavericks are getting healthier. It seems like Porzingis is actually playing consistently now, which is always a good thing. And moving on to the Clippers and the Rockets, I've got the Clippers minus 10.5 on the road. We've got a total of 226.5. The Clippers, third best record in the West. Rockets, needless to say, have been eliminated. So another double-digit spread. Kyle, where are you leaning?
It's tough to lay double-digit points with a Clippers team where you don't know who's going to play. So it's a back-to-back, right? And we know Kawhi Leonard, Mr. I take days off to play bingo with my mom. Leonard, that's what he likes to do, and it's a back-to-back. And I know he played his first back-to-back in, 4 years since 2017 earlier this year. But both Paul George and Kawhi are very, very iffy for tonight. Not a whole lot for them. Now, there is a little bit to play for, and I'm sure Junior will expound on this just a little bit more. But again, they would like to avoid those Lakers. And if you don't think that's a thing, that reverse tanking to avoid teams in the playoffs, you have not watched basketball your whole life. I've been covering this sport since I was 9 years old. I've been playing fantasy basketball since I was 9 freaking years old. And if you don't think teams lose or win on purpose to try to avoid teams in the first round of the playoffs, you are smoking peyote. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. You can say all the nonsense you want in the chat and give your comments. No one gives a damn. You're full of shit, and you just don't know what you're talking about. So that would be the case for the Clippers coming in hard tonight. That being said, Houston's been feisty lately. I know they've lost, 7, 8 straight. They're a bad basketball team. They're throwing out a bunch of nobodies tonight. But they've been feisty. So if I'm going to lean early on, and I have the expectation that at least one or maybe both of Kawhi and Paul George are going to be out, I think Houston could be an interesting underdog cover tonight. I have a slight lean there. I'm obviously not putting my money on the Houston Rockets. I cannot do it. But if I was betting this game, first of all, I would wait to find out news from the Clippers. I would wait to find out because there is no team in the league worse at last-minute scratches. Like, hey, Paul George in the starting lineup. Never mind. We decided to sit Paul George tonight. That's what the Clippers do. So I have a slight lean to the Rockets on this one to cover that double-digit spread.
Ooh, our first underdog play. And you're right. I think this is the most hated Clippers team when it comes to members of the gambling media, because every time we do these shows in the morning and give out plays, and then, somebody's not playing. Kawhi's not playing. So definitely feel your pain on that one. Junior, who do you like, or what's the play here?
Yeah, Kawhi learned the tanking from his days in San Antonio when Greg Popovich used to give the NBA the big middle finger and sit Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker on national TV games on Sunday. Kawhi was like, "Oh, you can do that? Okay," and he's kind of ran with that for the rest of his career. So, luckily for him, he's got the hardware in his trophy case to kind of shut people like me up because he gets away with it. That being said, it's the only reason I can't pull the trigger on this game this early. I have to know who's playing. I just really do. I cannot take the points or lay the points without confirmation as to who plays. This actually might be a live bet spot because you could end up getting a Rockets run here with the game's a little bit closer than anticipated, and then you just get a better number live game. But pregame, no Clippers for me until the playoffs start.
Yep. Right. Definitely don't blame you there. All right, last on the card, we've got the Pelicans and the Warriors. Warriors -2. Total is 224.5. And Zion Williamson will not be playing in the playoffs, unfortunately, as the Pelicans are eliminated. However, the Warriors, surprisingly alive for that play-in spot. Kyle, who do you like here, or where are you leaning?
I'm going to say this one last time because people in the chat insist on this. If you look at the tiebreakers, I don't care if Memphis wins and Golden State loses. Once Golden State wins if Golden State wins on Sunday, they would still leapfrog Memphis. So that's the last time I'm going to explain that. Go look it up for yourselves. You guys are dead and wrong. Just figure it out. So this is an interesting game. So we know yesterday, Draymond, Steph, and Wiggins, none of them practiced. Wiggins has played every game this year, but it looks like, by all indications from Steve Kerr, and I apologize for the Jets flying over, they think it's Area 51 here by my house, and they just sear over, so it's an unfortunate time that I'm talking during it. But if Steph and Draymond are going to play, I like Golden State here. Now, again, the game's not super important. Steve Kerr talked about it, holding them out of practice. They're banged up. Steph's got the little back contusion going on. Draymond's been banged up all year. But, look, New Orleans, disappointing. They were a sexy pick coming into the year, right? They were supposed to make the playoffs, and their defense was much, much better under Stan Van Gundy. But the problem is they're just not going to have a roster tonight. So if Steph's going to be out there, as long as Steph Curry plays, I'll be on the Warriors -2. I think that makes a ton of sense. If Steph, Draymond, and Wiggins are all out, you just got to stay the hell away from this game. Maybe make it a live betting spot since it's the last game of the night if you're looking to get some late night action. But mostly a stay away. If Steph plays too, I might lean the over 224.5 here. Both these teams should be able to score, and you're not going to see a lot of intense defense here. So a slight lean to the over. And I like Golden State, but I want to make sure that at least Steph plays tonight.
Right. Junior, who do you like? What's the play for you?
Lean to the over, no official. I need to know who's playing. And to be honest with you, I'm really kind of disgusted by this whole Pelican situation. I said before the season, you're hiring a dinosaur like Stan Van Gundy, and there's nothing wrong with being an older coach. But if you, like Kyle has said, have paid attention to the NBA for the last 15, 20 years, Stan Van Gundy does not usually get along with too many people. He usually wears out his welcome after like a couple of years. Well, he's in year one, and he's made this team worse, not better. So I'm not really sure what they do moving forward. It kind of seems like his style and this roster, and I'm even going to take it a step further. Just because I coach young kids, I coach 14, 15-year-olds. The kids these days, I can't talk to kids these days on my team the way my coaches used to talk to me, because if I did, they would quit. So I feel like Stan Van Gundy, and I'm guessing, I'm not in that locker room, I don't know. If you know his persona, you know his demeanor. You even heard it that the other day when they lost that game to the Knicks, where he's like, even a high school team would have figured that out. Well, Stan, it's your job to put them in those positions. So
self-burn.
Anyways, so until the Pelicans get rid of this guy, and I'm not saying that's the answer. Oh, just get rid of him. But is he the future of this franchise? I don't really know. Is Zion going to re-sign to play for Stan Van Gundy? Like, they really got to think about that. So I just want no parts of New Orleans. This is another one that maybe I would live bet if you can catch New Orleans on a bit of a run and get a better number in Golden State. But I want no part of this game.
Right. The NBA is definitely a players' league, and we see a lot of players' coaches, and that's why we see these star players having such an input when it comes to the head coaching hires. All right, so I'm new to this, but I'm going to assume we're going to our best bets of the day next. Kyle, what's your best bet or your pick. I'm not sure how this goes.
I actually like the Sixers halftime and full time tonight. I think they come out and beat down Orlando tonight, and I'll take a light sprinkle as well on Washington -4.5 in the first half as well.
All right, Junior, let me have it.
See, and that's why some people in the chat asked, "Hey, Junior, why are you not hosting the show?" That's why, because even though Chelsea didn't know what comes next, because she's a natural host, she knew what came next.
Bingo.
Of course, it's pick time. My picks are. I've actually got too many picks considering the spot. As much as I say that people shouldn't be betting this much, but hey, I got Dallas first half. I've got Philly first half. And I've got Washington first quarter.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to be totally honest and say that I'm not betting on the NBA much these days. But of these games today, it's looking like the Sixers for me in the first half and full game, just, banking on what you guys said. And plus, the Sixers have lost 2 in a row. I think it's a nice, good spot for them to get back here. The only thing that I even remotely like, so tread lightly on my plays, but you guys like it. So hopefully it's good stuff there. All right, we're going to wrap it up for today. As always, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see anytime you guys post a new video at SBR. Head to sbrpicks.com/NBA for all kinds of NBA content. I know it's the hardest time to bet NBA this season, but that's why we have some experts on board to steer you in the right direction. For Kyle, for Junior, for me, Chelsa, that'll do it for our NBA show here at SBR. And thanks for tuning in. Leave us some comments and hit that like button. We'll see you next time.